Good to go. So, nice to meet again. Tell us about a bit of your background of both of you in the music business. I know that you have a lot of history in the classic music, being a violin player, so also with the song Kite live acts, you with the violin. So it was nice.
Yeah, it could be a whole workshop about background. I will take it quick. My background was, I started with music by playing instruments. Organ, violin, piano, singing, composing, and more very traditional music education. In Sweden we have a very good music training for young children. So it's very cheap and it's really open for everyone. That's like from 8 years old to apply to play instruments. So very many young people do it in Sweden. So I continued with that and was planning to apply for the academy. But like 1 year before that, I started to play in a pop band with a violin. And before I did that, I was more playing sheet music and interpreting what's been written by someone else. And when I started to play the pop music, it was the first time I actually was starting to improvise and to play something. I probably did it a little bit before, but it was more on the full scale, doing something by myself and away from structures of how you should do it and patterns and stuff. And I really felt that it was triggering me in a new way. So we decided to be pop stars and go all the way. So I was playing a lot with that pop band and putting all my time into that. And because of that, I was kind of losing the training I needed to do with the violin to be able to apply for the academy. So it was impossible for me to go with the academy, because if you do that, you have to do basically only that. But I was really happy with that, and in the same time as I started to play in the pop band, I met Marcus. We're from the same city in Sweden, a quite small little city, and he was doing a lot of techno and trance parties in the beginning of the 90s. And that time I was in the high school, and Marcus was also in the high school, and they were arranging the parties, and I was going to them. And since it was a small city and I was really interested in music, it was kind of natural for us to meet somehow. And in that time, it was a couple of years, a friend of him, who's also my friend now, asked if I could play with the violin at one of the techno parties in the chill out area, because at that time it was no really clubs, it was more traditional warehouse parties where you rent a big place and you decorate it, and it's a big room and you have small rooms with chill outs. It was like the traditional, long time ago, standard of parties. And I was supposed to play in the chill out with a violin, and I had a lot of effect pedals, delays and reverbs and stuff, and doing weird noises. So the idea was, I think, that I would do weird sounds in the chill out. And at that time I also had another friend who was doing a little electronic music with a sampler, and I felt that maybe we should do something more than only strange sounds. So the two of us played in the chill out, and he was doing beats and stuff with a sampler, and I was doing strange sounds with a violin. And Marcus listened, and he felt that, wow, we could do music together, because at that time he was doing the parties, but he was also a DJ. And I remember he told me that to make techno music is super easy. You just do a kick and a little bit, and then it takes 1 day and you release a track and you can get like 2,000 euro. It's really easy. So I said, oh, that sounds good. So we started we met and we were trying some things, and it was not very easy. I think the first track we made took 4 months. But actually we put it on vinyl. The first track we ever did, we printed our own vinyl. Because it was a very strange track, and tried to send it to distribution all over in Europe, and tried to start our own label and stuff. No one liked it really, so it didn't work. But then slowly we started to work more, and then we just decided to do that. And slowly we got into it. And today, actually, sometimes a track we make in one day. But it took a few years to come there. I will get into that later, maybe, with the process of composing and the process of improvisation and how you can mix them and how that can be creative for you. The background of Marcus, like I said, he was arranging parties and a DJ, and he never played any instrument in the past before we met, but he was always a very dedicated music listener and selecting tracks and doing mixtapes and things, and so he had a more typical DJ background somehow, and I had a musical. But today, you know, we've been working together for 15 or 16 years, I think, so now we are both kind of everything or nothing.
So when was your like big breakthrough?
You mean in electronic music?
Yeah.
It's been a lot of breakthroughs. That's been really important, and I think that's really important to not put up in the future a big breakthrough that will make it happen, because I think the biggest breakthrough is to take every situation you are in, if you're at BPM college, or if you're performing at Homan 17, or if you're in the studio making something, that the big breakthrough is actually always there, and not planning the big breakthrough. And that's a little bit, I think, a little bit by accident. That's been our way of kind of approach what we are doing, that we never really had a plan. We were just, you know, kind of spontaneously just doing what we wanted to do, like putting out the vinyl with the first track. It's kind of stupid, and of course it was very weird and stuff, but just it felt nice, and we had a lot of fun when we were doing it. We didn't follow a certain pattern that if you want to be an electronic musician or a producer, you have to do this way. So we always been doing it a little bit weird, and sometimes it takes much longer. If you follow a pattern, it can be that you reach to that point really quick because you want to get there. Yeah. But it's not sure that kind of breakthrough that you thought was going to be your breakthrough will be the breakthrough that you need. It might be interesting for 1 year or two, but after that you lose interest, and this was not what I wanted to do. But if you really see the breakthrough all the way, I think what's happening is really suiting you, and it's good for you.
So what was the reason and when you decided to move from Kite project to Minilogue?
We still do the Kite project, and we are recording an album for that as well that we will release this year. And we're playing here in Israel on Tuesday morning, I think, on a festival. I don't know which one. But I think that it is in our human habits that we want to categorize and fold things, put things in different boxes. And it's typical normal, and I think everyone do it more or less. But it can be, sometimes it's good. For example, if you want to talk with someone and you want to understand each other, you have to define things and put things in boxes. But it can also be very restricting and push the possibility to let this breakthrough be there all the time, if you do it. And especially in like underground culture. Underground culture comes from the passion of being free and do something that might be not the normal formula, but it's very quick. The formula start to find itself into the underground culture as well, and the people that are part of and creating this underground culture is also limiting the actual possibility for it to be really free, and defining themselves to what they have created, and what they have created is helping them to manifest themselves. And especially both in the trance and techno and on all scenes in electronic music, you have this wanting to tell people that this is the best. Yeah. this is really great, and that's also not something bad. You want to share something that's good, but within that at the same time as you're sharing something you like, if you do it in a way in the same time saying that something else is bad, you're also hindering someone else to go their own way. And in the trance scene, we felt that it was kind of strict rules what you were allowed to do and not do. And I think in Songcat we were always very often like ending the festivals and playing the slow music and doing a little bit different, and always bringing in, since we didn't listen so much to trance and listen to more other electronic sounds, we were always bringing in other elements into the trance scene, mixing it with that. But still it was somehow, you had to stay within something, and we started to feel more and more kind of pushed back what we wanted to do. So then we felt, okay, we just continue with Songcat, and we open another project where we just don't care about anything like that. So then we opened Minilogue as a little adventure. And now it's kind of good to, when you don't depend on one thing, you can be a little bit more careless. Okay, people don't like it, okay. What comes out comes out. But it can be hard when you're very often you don't realize yourself that you are within a structure, because you start to feel comfortable yourself being in that structure. So when you're jumping, like now, one weekend we play with some artists that are within one culture, and the next weekend we play at a trance festival and on the beach somewhere, and we meet people in another structure, and you can really jump between the structures, and in that way it's also easier to see when yourself are structuring yourself or your environment or other people you meet.
And how did your fans, like Songkite fans, react to the change?
I don't know.
You don't know yet? You know, Facebook, SoundCloud, I don't know, you get reactions like...
We did it long before Facebook were active. So at that time, I think it was not so, things are just happening quicker and quicker. Like you say, you can't do anything today without it's being published on YouTube, and it's the changes are very obvious. But I think, of course, that some people like to find the answer, and then people you meet very often have a hard time to just let you do what you want to do. They want to tell you why you're doing it. Yeah. So of course people wanted to have these answers why we were doing it, and some people are finding an answer, and it could be a possible answer, and they publish it somewhere on a forum or Facebook, and then some other people think, yeah, that must be the truth. So I think some people thought we did it for commercial reasons, or that you would be much more rich in the techno scene or house scene compared to the trance scene, or other people. Yeah, it was probably, but for us, I think, and sometimes I did these answers myself because I also want answers. But I think the background reason for it was just to be free in the way we let out our creativity.
You born in Malmö?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and it's like a small place in Sweden. It's one of the only football groups that Israel team have like winning in the qualifications for World Cup. Just to let you know.
Okay.
And we were pretty bad in football.
We are as well.
So most of like electronic music DJs acts moving to Berlin, Amsterdam, Ibiza when they start to succeed and to tour around the world. And you didn't. You stay in your place, in your hometown, away from all the scene. Why? Is there any reason? Of course there's a reason again.
Yeah, of course. There is always reasons. Yeah. I think that if I jump to Israel and people living here, it's much more expensive to go with a flight from Tel Aviv to Europe, and very often you have to do transits and it's long flights and stuff. So it's more practical to live somewhere in Europe. In south of Sweden, we're really close to the Copenhagen airport, which have connections to every city in Sweden, in Europe. So for us, I'm in Berlin. From my home, it takes 1 hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's not really far. I still live far out in the forest, in a small little village, like 1 hour from Malmö. So it's just 1 hour more, and I'm in Berlin. But for people living here in Israel, it's not that convenient, and especially in the beginning, when you start to release something and you start to tour, it's not maybe so cheap for the organizer or the promoter to book the flight tickets and everything. So I think that's a reason. And then of course the reason why people move to Berlin is that they want to be in the middle of something, in this where the culture is created, or and I could see myself doing that. But I really like Sweden, and I really like the nature. I really love to take the day as it comes, and for me it's easier to do that without too much noise going on and too much people going on. And I also have small children and a family and everything, and it's very convenient to live in a small village with the forest just out the door. And so yeah, and it's a nice mix too, because we go to cities a few times every year. So we can get that turbulence and that buzz, and then you live in the countryside.
Nice. You've been a few times in Israel already. What do you say about the Israeli crowd, about the Israeli EDM scene?
I don't want to put these patterns on something, but I can feel that, in each country you have people, and people are energies, and energies are alive. And these energies are very collective somehow. Groups of energies that stay together, affect each other, and work in a very continuous way. So because of that, different countries have different way of express energies. And how I feel energies in Israel in general is that I can feel like some countries hold back energies, and some countries let them out. And I think Israel is a country that have very easy to let out the energies, express energy, and are not afraid of showing what energy that's alive at the moment. And that I can also see in the dance floor, that if it's really good, then people show it. And when something is not as they would like it to be, they can also show that. Which have happened many times, especially with song Kite, since we're playing a bit slow compared to the rest of the trance. So the expectations were maybe not always met for everyone. But I like that. I get like Sweden is a country where people hold back energies. It's like more, and it's not something that's right or wrong or something that's good or bad. It's just different way of dealing with energies, and also different ways of accepting the energies that are there and alive. But I think it's good for people that hold back energies. It's good to meet people that open up from energies, because it's a good match. And people that just let energies flow everywhere can also get inspiration from meeting people that are more conscious about how these energies can affect others and stuff. But I like people. I'm happy when people are honest, and I feel Israeli
are straightforward.
Yeah, and I like that.
Okay. We'll talk about music, creating music. Do you have some secrets or tips to get the right muse to create a track?
I think everyone probably say that, but the best tricks is to find out the trick yourself. There is loads of shortcuts, and it's many ways to use what someone else found out, and that will work for a little bit, but it will never give a long-lasting feeling of happiness. and that doesn't matter if you do music or if in any other aspect of life. I see no difference. So to really try to find a way in music without grabbing any certain tricks or ways or patterns, but still get inspiration from all these certain ways and tricks and patterns that people have found and are using, because they can be good, and they can be things within them that can be very helpful for you, and things that maybe suit you very well. But to take away and follow it like someone else did can easily be a backtrack. And in the end you realize that this was absolutely not the way that was good for me. So whatever I say now and whatever I show that I think is really good at the moment, feel free to use it and take it, but don't make it yours just because you think it will work for you. Try it out or see if it's good, and maybe it's really bad for you. That I want to say. But the more concrete tricks and things in the studio is to activate myself in the studio. It's easy to be passive in a world of computers and software, because you don't need to involve your whole being in what you do. You can make a lot of things in advertisement, in music, in movie, in whatever, in all different directions, with just sitting very still and using your brain. And our society and the world structure is really made from that. Facebook, and you can do everything with apps on the phone even, so you can probably do half the work on the way to work. But all happens here, and it's easy to stagnate the bigger essence that you also are. You have a body and you have a lot of other energies that easily can get pushed back. So for me in the studio, I like to do something. If you really like software, you can stand up in the studio. You throw away the chair and you stand up and you work, and maybe you dance a little bit every half an hour to the music you do, or you move yourself. You don't need to dance. You can float around in the studio a little bit, but take part in. Try to make a little welcoming and invite your body into the work in the studio. There's also other ways. Like I really like analog stuff, analog equipment, and that was probably because we started before the softwares came into the picture. So it was very natural in the beginning. We had only MIDI and only analog stuff. But the good thing there is good thing with software and there's good things with analog stuff, and there is no reason to choose one or the other. Or if you want to choose, you can do that, but it's up to you. But the good things with analog equipment is that it very often you have to invite the body. There is no choice. If you play the violin, the whole body, it's not only the fingers and the arms, it's every tension in the back. You really use yourself, and you can feel it yourself. If you take the arms you have and you take them up, directly you can feel a flow of energy that can be stagnated when you sit like this with a mouse and a keyboard. So when you play the analog instruments without knowing it, you are probably more connected to your body, and it also make you move around. If you have like we use a lot of keyboards and sequencers and stomp pedals from guitars and stuff, and a lot of cables. The cable doesn't work, you have to disconnect it, you go to the other side of the studio, take another cable, and oh, what is that? I haven't used a microphone in a long time. While moving around, you also let things happen that you didn't really plan. While sitting still, always like that, you go with the planning more than going with what's happening also in the outer reality. So I like to involve myself, playing instruments, and that's also a little bit like, I don't know if a lot of people DJ here, but the problem with Tractor and like computer DJing, I don't see it as a problem if you want to do it and you really do it and you're there and you really feel the music you're playing. It's wonderful. You should do that. It's not one way that's right of DJing, but if we take, for example, the vinyl DJing, it had something that made it easier to get into the music, and I think that's always what you should measure the situation you have in the studio. Is this way of working helping me to actually experiencing the music that I am doing, that I'm playing, or am I just thinking music here? Or do I really feel it? Do I get goosebumps when I play it? Or do I think that it sounds really much like the other one that was Beatport charts? And for example, beat matching with vinyls made the person always being there, because the vinyls are not really super tight, and the tracks were not really super tight, and you have to oh no and that make you move the body, you're there and you listen and you feel. When you stand there and Tractor make the mixing for you, what's going on at home? Where my girlfriend now, it's really easy, you lose yourself and you drift away into something that's actually not music. It's just thoughts about either the music or what track shall I play next. You should not think about the next track when you're doing that track. So, but like I said, I come from a generation where software was not existing almost, and I think that the human brain and the human being is really adapting super quick. So people that get the first iPhone at 4 will probably have another expression of awareness and consciousness that I don't have, and will be able to uphold a presence with that I can't do. So I should not say what's right for anyone, but a good question is always, am I here or somewhere else? If I'm here when I'm doing it, it's a good sign that it's something that might work for you.
Very good tip. I'll take it. You work together in the studio. How do you split the work on a track? You said now that your skills are
very, add something.
Not exactly,
we don't have any studio together anymore, actually.
Okay.
We split up 4 years ago. At that time, Marcus moved to the forest, and I stayed in Malmö. So I still have the studio in Malmö that we had together before, and he has a little studio in his house in the countryside. And I'm now building a new studio in the village where I live, hopefully be ready in the summer. And that was a very natural development for us, being together so much as we were. In the beginning, we were probably working 10 hours, 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, touring, sitting in the studio. It was just, that was the expression we did. Yeah. And then more and more, I don't know, we did it because we wanted, not really because we had to, but I think we also had to, because without that passion for it, I don't think that we would have reached a point where we could take it more easy in the activity of being in the studio. And also, at a certain point, and you've been so much with the person that I've been with Marcus, you kind of probably need a little break, because otherwise you will just start to annoy each other too much. So we had it was kind of a breaking up with each other, which was very interesting. How to break up with a relationship you have and continue in an honest way. And we did continue all the way, but it could also be in a possible way would have been that we broke up and went separate ways. But to have your own place and your own studio and being able to work with other people, a little bit more freedom was needed for both of us. So now when we work in the studio, since we don't have the same studio anymore, we don't sit in the studio together as much. And the last 3-4 years, which have been this time where we separated studios, we have when we meet and we just improvise music together when we meet with the live equipment that we use when we play live. So we kind of have two studios with more the big mixing desks and all the outboard effects and everything. And that's a place where we sketch and try things and do sound engineering or like create patterns or pads or whatever. And that's make a ground of samples or ideas that we have as possibilities when we meet and jam. Okay. So we take all that and we put it into Ableton Live, as we use as a software in our live setup, and we have two separate setups. This is what I have here is like a third of what we have. We have this, and then Marcus have a same setup, and then we have a lot of analog stuff that we didn't fit here really. So when we meet in the studio now, we just put up this, and we try to feel what we want to do that day. So we have been, some weeks we're meeting 1-2 times, and then we didn't meet for 1 month, and then we met 1 time every week. So it's been a little bit off and on. We've been meeting each other, and then we're deciding a key and a tempo, and we prepare a little bit each, and then we just play. And then we just been doing that. And in the end we had so much recordings with improvisations, and we realized that we have to start to listen to this and see, is it good or not? Shall we use something and release something maybe? And that was how we came up with the new album that we're releasing now. In I think next week, I think we release it. And it's just based on these improvisations. So the whole double album is actually, we didn't do anything afterwards, no post-production, no editing. We just took parts of jammings we did and we put it on the record. So it actually took that time, 160 minutes to record the album. But it's been recorded over a year's time or so, and so that's how we do it now. It's been really more like a jazz, how people do jazz albums. Yeah. Like you meet some really impro jazz, you just start to play and you see what happens. And some days we did that, really obscure, strange things happened. Some days we thought it's going to be obscure and it went really straight. If you let it happen, you never really know exactly where it's going. And other times, like also you do in jazz, someone come with a feeling or a structure. Maybe we should start around this and see what happens. And some days we also did that. Maybe I had a little sketch and Marcus, yeah, okay, let's go with that. And something was evolving from that.
Do you think that in today's music business it's still relevant to release an album and not to release single tracks or EPs?
It's like to release single tracks or EPs and an album for me is two very different expressions of art. Mm-hmm. It triggers me. It's like an EP is a formula, and an album on CD is a formula. It has limitations of time. It has limitations of how it will be perceived of the consumer. It has a limitation of how it's distributed in a certain time, because music is always distributed to a consumer in a certain way. And to accept these limitations and do something and to fill that limitation with something that's alive and that can generate life to someone else is very triggering for me. And like I said, an EP is very different from an album. An EP for me is more a quick output, something that, like for example, me and Marcus is trying something. Oh, this was cool. Oh, we have 2 tracks like this, and we just release it. Maybe we send it to the label the same day as we did it, or it can go really quick. And especially today, when not everything is released vinyl, it's only released digital. It can go even quicker to come out to the consumer. Or maybe you don't release it. Maybe you just post it on your Facebook and you share it, so people can actually feel in Tel Aviv what we did in the forest in Sweden. People can listen to it in the evening, and we did it in the morning. And this is amazing with how the digital world and the internet works today. But to release an album is more, for me, a process that takes time. We release album very rarely, like the last Minilogue album was 5 years ago or something. And for us, at the moment we don't feel for releasing 2 similar albums. An album is more something that define a sequence or a phase in our creativity together. And that was our new album. We recorded it really quick, but it's been a process of years to come to that point somehow, and that album defined what we've been doing the last years in the studio.
In your Minilogue project, you also combine the visual side. So why did you decide to be more visual with your music, and why animals? Strange animals.
Yeah, the animals are starting to fade away a bit, I think.
Okay.
They had their time, and I think the Animals album for us was kind of the peak of our animal era. And I really like to meet other people in the flow of creativity, and to meet other musical artists is triggering you in one way. To meet artists that express themselves in other forms is also triggering that flow in a certain way. So all the visuals we did for the Animals album were made by other visual artists. That's our friends, and that was a great way to meet each other. For the new album, at the moment, we didn't work with visuals at all. But there are a lot of small seeds of ideas that will make that happen, I think. But at the moment, we took everything a bit more slow and easy, and to work with an album and more produce and make all the videos, and but it's easy. You move into an energy state that is not really healthy to be in too long. Mm-hmm. So the new album is made more. It's more it's more calmed down, and also what we do around the album is not as busy.
Okay. And how much time do you spend to promote your music?
We started a Facebook page with Minilogue, I think, a year ago or something.
Only a year ago.
Or something. I'm not in Facebook personally, and not Marcus either, so we're kind of out of that world. Of course, when you jump in there and see how it works, it's a structure, and the structure is easy to learn. And I think Facebook has great advantages. But also for people, I think it can be a limitation. So what we try to do with Facebook is to, like the last 3 months, we worked a little bit more, and we were sharing like free live sets and things. And but we always try to, and not only Facebook, but also when we release music, when I speak with in a group of friends or whatever, I try to see, is it relevant to say what I have to say? Is it relevant to post this news? Because when you post something on Facebook, someone else has to see it. And if everyone is posting things with the intention to be viewed more than other people, and that's the only intention, I think you steal you steal awareness and you steal space from other people. So we really try to feel that, okay, people that like the Minilogue page, would I like to see this? Okay, here is news about a new EP. Yeah, that's probably something that's, if they don't want to see this, probably they should dislike the page then. It's better. But to say that, okay, we've been at this party and it was super good and we are superstars and we met this and that, and post things like every day and this, we feel, maybe this, what we feel is too much. I don't mean that that is too much, but that's what I feel. If I would have Facebook, I would have interesting news that would benefit from me, not to have news about what everyone do all the time. And I think exactly the same, like if you're in the studio and you feel that a certain way in the studio triggers you to come here and feel what's going on, I think that's a good sign that you're on the right spot, how you're doing the music in the studio. And the same, if you feel that your activity within something, for example Facebook, is helping people to know a little bit about you and not stealing their attention to just drift away in thoughts. Yeah. I think it's good to find a balance in what you do. So that's the promotion of Facebook. We're trying to find that balance. And on the other side of promotion of yourself, I think the absolute best promotion to start with is to feel good about yourself and what you do, and to really enjoy and feel the music that you play. That's the absolute start. Before that, you don't need to promote yourself. And when you do that, you promote yourself. If you're on the stage and you came that far that you have a gig, for example, and to be there and really do what you feel, this is great, and not rely on the reaction from the crowd or whatever, but rely on the feeling of being there and doing it. That is an amazing promotion and will take you really, really far, I believe. And after that, things kind of happen by themselves. I don't think you need to plan a certain promotion plan. If you do that and you really do it and you're honest, and like we said before, like in Israeli side is to be expressive and honest, and you do it with the intention not only for yourself but for, this is good, this is great. People come to you and you get another gig and someone want to release, someone want to work with you, and suddenly you have a way coming in front of you and you don't really need to plan it. And if you plan it, like Facebook, for example, now, okay, Facebook is existing. Facebook is something that people use. Facebook is a good way of communication. So then let's use it. And in 10 years, there is something else. And go with it and let the way come, but don't overdo it and don't get stuck in a certain thing.
Okay. Last question that I have. You do your own mastering?
We did that a lot. We have a full mastering studio, but in the last 3-4 years we also stopped with that quite much. For the new album we did it ourselves, or Marcus did it. He's more the sound freak in our couple. So he did the mastering and he have all the mastering stuff in his studio. And really listen, and it was a bit problematic, like all things have good sides and bad sides, and we recorded our whole album on Alan Heath DJ mixers, which is not the same sound quality as our super sound cards and super mixers in the studio. So our album is actually sound-wise a disaster compared to everything else we do. So Marcus had a little problem when realizing that we were doing the mastering. So he was working a little bit to try to fix very strange things in the sound. So normally we don't do it, but this was a little exception. But maybe in the future we do it again. I don't know.
Okay, we'll give some time for a question from the audience.
Hi, Sebastian.
Hi.
I wanted to ask you What is your preferred DAW to work with?
DAW is that the outboard to trigger the software?
Digital audio workstation,
To make music, like Cubase, Logic, Ableton.
So far, we mostly work in the studio. We always use Logic. I don't think it's a big difference which one you choose. It's more that you have. It's good to get used to it and get comfortable with it. But Logic we used, and I liked it a lot. For the live, in the beginning we played live with Logic, but then we started. We have always been transforming the way of playing live, and before Logic started to have more floating waveforms, like stretching real time, we really needed that to play live. So then we started to use Ableton Live instead of Logic. Then I think that you can do that in Logic also. I'm not so good in that. But for live, we only use Ableton Live. So now in the studio, since we use Ableton in the live and Logic in the studio, we start to use them as a slave, rewired. So normally I have both programs running, and sometimes I use the one more and the other one less, and it depending on what's happening that day.
Any other questions?
What analog synthesizers do you have?
We have quite a few. The 101, the whole Roland 101 808 909 system we really like. All of them have a very pure, simple essence and very easy to work with and have very concrete sounds. So we have them. We have the Moog Voyager, which I really like as well. We have the Prophet 5. We have some, like we have the little fatty Moog. There is a little small Korg synthesizer. I don't know the name now, but it's kind of, yeah.
MFB.
Yeah, the MFB we have, quite a few of them. The Juno 6, we have quite a few, and they're a little bit spread out in the studio, so sometimes I forget them. And then I found them under something. And the last years, since we've been more jamming with our live setup, it's been a little, we still have a lot, like now, normally when I play live I have the 101, and I do all the melodies and basses with that live, but I forgot it in the car, so it's somewhere in Tel Aviv. So I couldn't have it here. And we have other analog synthesizers, but the live album is more software than we are normally doing, actually. And that just happened to be that way. And I think now after the album is done, it's a new era coming. Maybe we go back to more analog. I have a feeling. I don't know, maybe. And I think that it's a year of the analog synthesizer this year. I think it's coming back, and because it's been the market, I think, has been more software and vintage, and it's not. I tried some new analog synthesizers, but for me, they have been trying to please everyone in a way that they've been super complicated with enormous operating systems and endless knobs and things, and still being analog. And then I think you completely use the beauty of analog, where analog is a limitation in working, and that limitation is, for example, a violin. If you would play the violin and have a little computer at the same time and change things and playing the violin, you would never be able to play the violin. And you lose the feeling of playing. But an analog synthesizers that have a certain knobs, and you can turn them one way or the other. You can't do much more, and something happens when you do it. You don't really know what's happening, but if you're there and feel it, you will will keep the new analog synthesizers simple.
the new, they mix them together, yeah? The digital and the analog, the new synths.
Yeah, you have that possibility to.
It's wonderful.
It's wonderful in one. Yeah, it can be wonderful as long as it's the same. I feel also with a lot of soft, like MIDI controllers and stuff. They should fit every certain program. They should please every possible way of working, and in that way they get so complex that. And it's so many functions, so you easily lose yourself in it. And it's so many different products coming all the time, so quickly, so people are not getting used to any. You have one, and then you buy another one, and then you buy another one, and then you end up with no really knowledge about any of them. So have something and get used to it, and let it come to you.
עוד שאלות?
How do you choose what to take from the studio and leave it there in the computer, and what to take live?
You mean
like what leads do you leave like?
You mean equipment wise?
Not
or
just equipment.
Sound-wise?
In a track you're doing live. What do you do static? Let the computer do by loop, and what do you do by yourself live, and how do you choose what to
I will show
what
you
to export and what to do?
I will show you later, but mainly what I do when before the live is to just, because we have so much samples and things that we can play together with the analog synths, that in the beginning when we did this way of playing live, we had just an Ableton Live with like all the sounds we did. So it was a few thousand samples. And live, we were choosing, okay, that with that. And we started to get so many samples that it was a little bit too, we felt that it took too much thought to choose. The choosing was taking me away from the presence of feeling the music. So then we realized that we can't have this many options. The options were getting too many. So now we kind of we have lots of sketches, hundreds of sketches, and they are a little selection of a few samples, and then you can choose different things within that. But it's kind of a little limitation, and we try to name and structure all these sketches in emotions. Like some tracks is emotions and functions, so we can easily when we play, because when we play together. We start out that Marcus start to play a sketch, and then I add things on top of that, and when it's time to move on, I choose another sketch, and I start to mix in myself into his sketch, and then we go back and forth like that, and to be able to pick up where Marcus actually is and what's being improvised on top of that, like a track can go somewhere, not by intention, but I start to play something that Marcus didn't plan, and the track becomes something new. So then, when you categorize it in that, you can easily choose a sketch that would actually continue the story from where it is. So I can show you later the big mess of all the samples, and also the little selection of a few samples.
Okay, Sebastian, how did you get your nickname, artist name, Minilogue? What is this? What does that mean, Minilogue?
It's actually our first Kite album was called Minilogue. And Minilogue, and that at that time also with Kite. And I think somehow what always triggered me is minimalism. And I don't mean minimal as a genre, and I don't mean that minimal has to be just one sound, but also the older I get, the harder time I have to experience a lot of details at the same time. I don't know why I can't look at a new movie because too many things happening. And also in music, I start to listen a lot to like pure instrumental, like just piano music, or like recording an 808 with only 101. and you really experience is all the frequencies that can be alive within it. And that's been a little bit a thing that we always felt, me and Marcus, and some things we did was not minimal at all, minimalistic, but somehow we always triggered by this minimalism. So Minilogue is minimal together with dialogue, Minilogue. And dialogue is another aspect of being, both within yourself. Most of us have a constant dialogue within ourselves, and different things within ourselves that works together in different ways, or not working together. But also when you meet other people and relations, that most of our life is based on relationships in different ways. And we always relate to things. And in music you have different aspects of dialogue. You have the aspect of creating the music together with someone else. There is a dialogue, how you interact together and how you let that dialogue contribute to a flow of creativity. And you also have a dialogue between the person who is performing and the person who is experiencing or listening to the music. So these was two parts that was very essential for us, and also, like, since Kite and Minilogue is dance music, I feel a very strong interaction between the performer and the dance floor that is important to open up to. So this was minimalism and dialogue, so it became Minilogue.
Okay, we'll take a few minutes break and we'll start with the live performance.
The name, you mean? Sun is sound and kite is the kite in the air that you play with. So it's like, us playing around with sounds.